So I started reading and collecting comic books when I was about 10 years old or so, and it has been fun for the most part. But now I'm walking away from floppies. Let's discuss. What's going on, and welcome to Joe's Geek Show, the video series where we talk comics. And before we get started, if you're new and like to support the channel, you can do so by hitting that like button, clicking that subscribe button, and sharing. And with that, yeah, you heard me right. I am walking away from floppy comic books.
What you talking about, Willis?
And if you have a look of shock on your face, don't worry. My wife had it too when I first told her. In fact, most of my friends had roughly the same reaction of just, what? Why? How? You've been doing it for so long. Why are you stepping away from individual floppy comics? Well, for one, there is the price aspect. When I started collecting comic books, they were anywhere between $1 and $1.25. And of course, over the years, they've just been gradually increasing and increasing and increasing. Heck, I remember, back when DC's whole slogan was drawing the line at $2.99. Where are those $2.99 comic books, DC? Where are they? And now we live in a time when comic books go up to $4.99, $9.99 if you want some more premium ones like the DC Black Label. And it's a weird thing I've noticed that as the price has increased in comic books, the quality seems to have gone down. And when I sit down and do the math, waiting for a standard trade seems to be more cost effective in the long run. I mean, just an example, back when I was collecting the Mighty Morphin series, Mighty Morphin as the individual issues cost $4.99, and after 4 issues would collect into a trade. Well, 4 individual issues would be roughly 20 bucks, and well, the trade paperback that would follow would be $16.99. And altogether, that's almost a $3 savings. That is $3 extra I get to save and put towards the next trade. And to me, that just makes more sense. And also with floppies, there's the whole thing with bagging and boarding. And if you're in the comic book game too, you know that over time, this can be rather costly because every comic book needs bagged and every comic needs boarded. Unless you don't bag and board your comics, in which case, I don't know how you would keep them otherwise. Actually, if you don't bag and board your comics, leave a comment in the section below of how you like to do it. Then of course there is the convenience aspect of leaving floppies behind, because floppies gotta be in, well, comic boxes of some kind, whether they're in the standard cardboard box or you got, big tough boxes where you keep your comics. Either way, if I wanted to go back and read an individual book, I'd have to find the corresponding box, find the corresponding section, pick the comic I want, unbag it, unboard it, read it, put it back, and if I want the next part of the story, I gotta rinse and repeat. Versus if I want to read a trade paperback or an omnibus, pull it off the shelf, read the story, put it back on the shelf, everything is nice and neat. And also when it comes to moving day, because we do move around quite a bit, being a military family, well, transporting a bunch of books is a lot easier than transporting a ton of comic boxes. Believe me, when my wife and I first moved to Alaska, we literally drove from Texas to Alaska just to transport my comic books because I did not trust the movers. Nope. And then with trades, it's generally the whole story. Because I will admit, as a kid, there was something about reading a comic book month to month that was intriguing, to say the least. You'd read some panels, read some pages, get a to be continued at the very end of it. What's gonna happen next? I don't know. Well, I gotta wait till next month. But as I've gotten older, I've started to kind of dislike this approach a little bit. Now, more times than not, I'd prefer to just sit down and read the whole story of something, or at least a story arc. And that's what collected editions do. They offer the ability to read at least the entire story arc of, well, a particular story. And it's so much to the point that even if it's not a full story, it does feel like a more satisfying reading experience. I get that more bang for your buck feeling, I guess you could say. And lastly, access to, well, older stories. Now, it's no secret, as it is a fairly prevalent discussion in the comic book communities today, that newer comics can be somewhat challenging. I mean, I can remember just a few years ago when it was actually hard to pick what comic books I wanted because there's just so many of them that were interesting and intriguing. And it's like, oh my gosh, I used to have these big $50, $60 comic book weeks every week. And then eventually got to a point where it became harder to justify buying really any comics, except The Flash. You're still my #1, baby. But it's almost like with current comics, the market's just so oversaturated. Marvel and DC just release so many books that you have to sift through all of these mediocre to realistically bad comic books just to find that one that's worth buying. And so when it comes to trades, as it can sometimes also be difficult to find older floppies of something that I'm trying to collect, the collected editions, for the most part, are there. I have access to years and years and years of history and story that I've missed. Stories that have been excellent. And now I'm just in a mode of trying to go back, find all of these collected editions of stories I've missed, and it's given me that like excitement back of discovering something new, even though these stories are old. And so after taking some time to sit down and think about it, I came to the conclusion that for me, floppies just aren't worth it anymore. In a way, I've renewed and reinvigorated my interest in comic books through switching to the trade and omni formats. And I'm sure some people might be asking themselves, what about digital? Well, I got an answer for that. It's physical or nothing. Hashtag physical media forever. But ultimately, this is not meant to be a complete knock against floppies, because I know for a lot of people, floppies are still the way to go. It's, you know, still fun for a lot of people, and many still get that same rush of reading some comic books month to month. It's just for me, currently where I'm at in my life, I don't feel that way. But if you do, nothing wrong with that. So I guess my question to you is, where do you stand on this? Do you like collecting floppies preferably? Are you starting to lean more towards trades and omnis as time goes on? Tell me your thoughts. Make a response video if you want. I am genuinely curious to see what other people think about this subject. So I say to you, the comment section is open.
And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these 2 videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.